Hello everyone and welcome to week 11. I am under week 11's content right now. As I'm sure you are all aware, this week you will be submitting your final annotated bibliography draft this Sunday on the 17th, I believe it is. Yes. Today we're just going to be discussing your final presentation and final paper directions. Now that you have built a solid research foundation, the rest of this should be pretty easy for you guys. We finished up last week with your discussion board responses, so you will not have to create any more responses to prompts. You will still have quizzes each week, so to speak, but since we finished Heinrich's text, these will be more serve as a function of just checking in. So let's get started. Now that you've completed your annotated bibliographies, the rest of this, as I said, should be fairly simple. Your next assignment is going to be a presentation that you will be devising for a group of peers in the class. So again, you're not going to have to review every single person in the class's presentation. Rather, I'll break you into separate groups on separate forums in Blackboard, and you'll be responsible just for your own group's presentations. So your presentations are basically in preparation for your final research paper, in which you will be presenting your research findings to your assigned group in a 7 to 10 minute presentation, but it must not exceed 10 minutes. You may use PowerPoint or any other presentation method of your choosing. However, you must use a webcam, i.e. we must see you in the presentation because, of course, you have to establish your decorum with your audience, and you can't do that if we can't see you. And also a microphone, either an internal or external ones, so we'll have to hear your voice. It's important to keep in mind that your projects will be deducted 10 points if a microphone webcam isn't used. So again, this is an online course. You should be fairly familiar with this technology. And if you aren't, you still have a few weeks to get up to speed with this. I use Camtasia capture software, which you can get, I believe, still for a free 30-day trial if you'd like to play with that. However, if you are more comfortable with the PowerPoint format, that's certainly acceptable as well. So the directions for your presentations and ultimately also your final research papers should look familiar to you because we went over the 5 canons of persuasion, according to Cicero, last week when we were finishing up the Heinrich's text. So I'll leave you to read in more depth these, reread these actually, canons, but again, they should look familiar to you. Invention is where you dig up materials for your speech. Arrangement is where you construct your basic argument, where you create your cohesive presentation. Again, remember that you want to move through establishing your character, to establishing your facts, to establishing an emotional connection. Now, as you are aware, we have already started working on this since the beginning of the class, actually, wherein your first assignment was a credibility assignment. And of course, you have completed the sort of logos portion of your argument already through your varied research. The next part will just be establishing your emotional connection with your audience. Again, making sure that you move through the ethos. Again, it's getting the audience to like and identify with you through your shared values or your good sense, and of course your disinterest as well. The logos is the meat of your argument. This is where you're discussing your various sources, the various viewpoints that your various sources talk about. You'll want to, again, keep the information succinct and relevant. And then you'll be working on establishing that emotional connection with your audience. Do you want to charge them up through anger, fear, pity, patriotism, or some other emotion? Your speech should follow this structure: the introduction, the narration, the division, proof, refutation, and conclusion. Now, because this is your presentation, you're going to want to make sure that you use proper language, clarity, vividness, decorum, and ornament. You may indeed use proper language that suits the audience and the issue. You want to make sure that you boil your argument down to its essential point in a manner that your audience can understand. And of course, you want to create a rhetorical reality by telling a story with facts and figures. Remember that decorum is about the skillful art of fitting in. Know your audience and know what language and topics suit them and which ones don't. And ornament, of course, has to do with the rhyme and pitch of your voice. You'll want to speak softly when you want to lure your audience in, and speak with a crescendo when you are building one thing on top of another to reach a climax. Your presentations will require you to have images in them, so you're going to want to select images that represent the particular concepts, ideals, or commonplaces that are associated with your particular topic. Make sure that you present yourself and your materials in a confident manner to the class. Remember, you're the expert, and you want to persuade the class to adopt your reasoning and to take action. The nitty-gritty requirements are that your presentation should be 7 to 10 minutes long, but must not exceed 10 minutes. Your presentations, again, should include images. They should also have minimal amounts of text. There wouldn't be much of a point to have a presentation if you were just going to write up a bunch of information. We could just read it. You want to persuade us also with your images and your presentation of self, as it were. You may use notes to guide your presentation. However, you should not read directly from them. All of your presentations are due on the 24th to your respective group forum on Blackboard. You must respond to all presentations in your group to receive the 25 peer critique points. And that is just simply saying that you will be paying close attention to each of the presentations in your group and write down one thing you like about the presentation and one thing you think needs more clarification. This, of course, will help each of you in constructing your final papers. And speaking of which, let's move on to those. Again, this should come as no surprise. It actually should be pretty easy for all of you now because you have done the basic work, the hard part really, in creating leading up to this paper. In fact, you may use the information that you've already gathered from your credibility narrative, your definition essay, and of course your annotated bibliography projects once you receive comments back from me on those. Your final paper will be 7 to 10 pages and will use all the materials that you've gathered from your presentation to write a clear, persuasive argument. Be sure to, of course, incorporate any feedback that you receive on your various reviews. Papers, of course, should adhere to MLA format, and as you know, there are several topics that you are not allowed to write about, but it seems that all of you have that under control. You will have at least 5 journal articles from scholarly or peer-reviewed sources, so this comes right out of your annotated bibliography, and 2 to 3 scholarly sources from textbooks and other reference from scholarly books. Textbooks, encyclopedias, and other reference materials, as we know, do not count as scholarly resources. For your final paper, you may use 1 to 2 credible websites, reports, and or other scholarly materials like dissertations. No Wikipedias and no information from .coms are allowed. So you can use .gov sites, you can use a .edu sites. In some instances, .org sites might even be available, but no commercial sites and definitely no Wikipedia. And again, the information here is right out of Cicero's 5 Canons. We are following this classical model. Here I want to emphasize that you basically have already written your introduction because if you go back to your annotated bibliography, you'll see that you wrote a brief history and you also incorporated your credibility. So you already have 2 to 3 pages done of this paper already. Now, you also have a good part of the division done, or at least you should, because you have those paragraphs that follow each of your scholarly sources that discuss not only what the source is about, but what it means, how it's useful. So really you can use that as part of your division, those paragraphs. So there you have probably another 2 to 3 pages done. Basically, what you want to do then is after you go over all of this evidence, listing the points where you and your opponents agree and disagree, you're going to want to now start to construct your proof. This is where your actual argument and evidence go. So something like saying, after we've considered all of these various points of view, the most advantageous route or choice to make is X, Y, or Z. So again, your actual thesis statement, as it were, or something close to a thesis statement, really shouldn't be coming in until about pages 4 or 5, maybe even a little bit later, depending. Again, you want to appear reasonable, that basically you had no choice but to come up with this logical argument because you have surveyed all of this information. So really, this is the part, refutation and conclusion, the parts that you'll really be working on most in this final paper if all goes well with your annotated bibliographies. And remember, your conclusion should restate some of the most important points of your argument and have an emotional impact to rouse your audience. All final papers must be submitted on December 17th by 5 p.m. via the Safe Assignment Blackboard link. No late papers will be accepted, as I basically have to turn around and grade almost 100 papers. So as you can imagine, that's a lot of work in a short period of time. So no late papers will be accepted. I again want to point out to you the due dates on this particular assignment. Your peer review will be due on 12/12. This is a Thursday. I know we're used to having everything done by 11:59 on Sunday evenings, but the end of the course schedule really doesn't allow for that. So plan on having your peer review done by December 12th. And again, your final draft is due by 5 p.m. on the 17th, which is a Tuesday. So again, plan accordingly. And as always, if any of you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact me. Happy hunting!